you're trying to do. The other thing I thought was important was the diversity, the lack of diversity that existed in department heads across the city. And so I believe that the city's leadership ought to resemble the population. So I wasn't able to just look in Baltimore. I mean, I didn't just look in Baltimore. I looked for the best across the country. You know, for example, my housing authority person was an African-American female who was vice president of the housing authority of New York. My chief government relations person was someone who was working in Philadelphia. My head of Parks and Recreation, another African-American female. My head of Parks and Recreation was from Alabama. Alabama, who was head of Parks there, and an African-American man. And I did that intentionally because I wanted children to see a man in a very prime position. I am looking for an African-American police chief because I believe...
No, you can't take mine now.
No, I'm not because I'm already pretty much at the end of the search. But
staff here on the stage.
You know, but let me just be real clear. I just think that it's important that, you know, when you set a vision, I was very clear when I walked in, I had a clear vision of where I wanted to take Baltimore. And I looked at 14,000, 16,000 boarded houses. The city only owned 2,000 of them. I looked at the lack of leadership in certain positions. I knew that there was an issue around policing. We're under a consent decree. And then there were just departments that really needed to be more diverse. And just one real quick thing, I never forget, just a few days ago, I was speaking before the Greater Baltimore Committee's leadership. And the question that was asked of me of a white female in the audience, she said, I was in the room when you were creating your neighborhood investment fund. And I'll never forget what you said. You walked in the room, you looked around, and you said, this is something that really bothers me, the fact that there are no other African Americans in this room but me. That's a problem. You know, the problems that we will address specifically are African Americans who have been underserved for decades. And she said, you turned and said, this needs to change, walked out the room. How uncomfortable was that for you? So it wasn't uncomfortable for me. It might have been uncomfortable for the folks who were sitting in the room. But at the same time, you know, I get to choose the board. I get to choose the folks who will be a part of that. I just think that that's a part of what we must do as leadership. We have the opportunity to do that. And that is serve in the best interest of the people that you are serving.